All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into a city that's like a time machine, Cairo. Cairo, Egypt.
Ooh, I like that time machine.
We're talking ancient pyramids right alongside modern life,
Yeah.
and all with this nickname, the Mother of the World.
Mm,
You sent over a ton of stuff on Cairo,
I did.
and honestly, kind of intimidating how much there is to uncover.
Lots to talk about, for sure.
But that's what we do,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Break it all down, find the coolest
For
parts.
captivating, insightful stuff. So before we get lost in the pyramids and bazaars,
Right. Easy to do.
let's start with that nickname.
Mother of the world.
What's the story there?
Yeah.
Not your typical city name.
No, it hints at Cairo's really long history, right at the crossroads of, well, civilizations, basically.
Okay, so like a central hubs for
Everything. Trade, scholarship, you name it.
centuries.
Oh, yeah. Think of it like a mixing pot,
I like that, a mixing pot.
where ideas, goods, people, all coming from different continents, all converged in Cairo.
And in many ways, that's still happening today.
Absolutely. It's part of its DNA.
So it's not just Cairo's own history, but how it influenced world history.
Exactly. Its impact on everyone else.
You know, the stuff you sent, it really emphasizes how Cairo is more than just the ancient stuff.
It's true. There's layers to it.
Like it mentions the food, the art scene.
The energy of modern city life, too.
Multi-layered is an understatement, I think.
Definitely, but that's what makes it so special.
Okay, let's get to those must-see spots. Got to start with the Giza pyramids and the Sphinx.
Oh, of course. Iconic.
Global icons, right? But beyond taking a photo, what's the experience like? What's it actually like to be there?
Okay, imagine this. You're standing there at the foot of these structures that have been there for millennia.
Wow, millennia.
They've seen empires rise and fall, silent witnesses to all of it.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that.
The pyramids themselves, they're architectural marvels.
Oh, absolutely.
Human ingenuity and ambition on a scale that's almost impossible to grasp.
And then there's the Sphinx.
Don't forget the Sphinx, this enigmatic figure just gazing out over the desert.
So mysterious.
A symbol of ancient wisdom, mystery, all of that.
You're painting quite a picture. That's what I'm looking for.
Not just the facts.
Yeah, the feeling, the vibe.
Right, like the source uses the word awe-inspiring, and I think that's spot on.
What makes it so awe-inspiring? Is it the size? The age? The mystery, like you said?
It's all of that, truly. Plus, you're on the edge of the Sahara Desert.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just the monuments themselves.
The whole setting.
Exactly. The vastness of the desert adds another layer to the whole thing.
I can see why this is on so many people's bucket lists.
Definitely bucket list worthy.
Okay, next we have the Egyptian Museum.
Oh, yes, the museum.
It has over 120,000 artifacts.
That's a lot to take in.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Any advice on how to even approach that? It's like sensory overload waiting to happen.
Honestly, you could spend weeks there
Like,
and still only scratch the surface.
yeah.
But if you're looking for that one must-see thing, the Mask of Tutankhamun,
Oh, the mask. I've seen pictures, of course.
it's not just a beautiful object, it's a window into ancient Egypt.
Okay, there's got to be something about seeing it in person, right? What makes it so special?
The craftsmanship, the detail, the sheer opulence of the gold and jewels,
Wow.
but also the story behind it.
Tell me about it.
Tutankhamun, he was this young pharaoh, died unexpectedly, and his tomb, they found it almost completely intact.
Amazing.
Unprecedented glimpse into how they did burials back then, their beliefs.
So it's a portal to another time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the mask itself, it was supposed to protect the pharaoh's spirit in the afterlife.
Okay, adding, spend a full day at the Egyptian Museum to my hypothetical Cairo itinerary.
Good plan.
Now let's shift gears a bit, something a little more chaotic. The el-Khalili Bazaar.
Ah, yes. Get ready for sensory overload.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Imagine narrow alleys, tons of color, aromas, sounds. I'm already there.
Spices, perfumes,
Yeah.
fabrics, all handcrafted.
So, not your typical tourist trap.
Oh no, this is the real deal.
I love that. You'll find handcrafted lamps, carpets with amazing designs, traditional perfumes, spices you won't find anywhere else.
Okay, I'm picturing myself getting lost in that maze, haggling for treasures.
Oh, you have to
I'll
haggle.
have to practice my skills.
It's part of the experience.
After all that sensory overload, let's talk about a spot to catch our breath, take in some views.
Good idea.
The Citadel of Salah el-Din and the Mosque of Muhammad Ali.
Now that's where history meets architecture.
The source has panoramic views of the whole city.
It's true. You can see it all from there.
I can only imagine.
Ancient and modern life, all spread out before you.
Amazing. And then there's the mosque.
Oh, the Mosque of Muhammad Ali. It's
I
stunning.
bet.
A real masterpiece, blends Ottoman and Egyptian styles.
And you can see it from all over the city, right?
Oh, yeah, those towering minarets and that grand dome, they're visible from miles away.
The source mentioned the blend of history and religion again.
And it's true, that's a recurring theme in Cairo.
It's like every corner has layers of stories to tell.
Exactly. And the Citadel, it's seen it all.
I bet it has.
Built in the 12th century
Wow.
to protect Cairo from invaders. Over the centuries, it was a royal residence, a military base, and now, of course, a major tourist
A
attraction.
real timeline of Cairo's past.
You got it.
Okay, and speaking of contrasting experiences, I see Al-Azhar Park mentioned as a must-visit.
Ah, yes, the park.
What makes it so special?
Imagine an oasis in the middle of the city.
A break from the chaos.
Exactly. Beautifully landscaped, fountains, gardens, panoramic views.
I'm all about escaping the chaos sometime.
It's a reminder that even in a city as vibrant as Cairo, there are places for peace and quiet.
So, after the bazaar, we're heading to the park. And
Hmm.
speaking of experiencing the city from different perspectives, we can't forget the Nile River.
Oh, of course, the Nile.
Can't imagine going to Egypt and not experiencing it.
Absolutely.
What are some of the ways we can connect with the Nile in Cairo?
Well, it's more than just a river, right?
Oh, definitely. The lifeblood of Egypt, some would say.
For sure. In Cairo, you can experience it in a few ways.
I'm ready to hear about it.
You can opt for a felucca ride.
A felucca?
It's a traditional sailboat.
Okay, so peaceful.
Exactly. Nice and peaceful journey along the water.
Like something out of a movie.
Right. But there's another option, a bit more upscale.
Ooh, tell me more.
Dinner cruises.
Ooh, fancy.
Exactly. Imagine gliding along the Nile.
So glamorous.
Delicious meal, city lights twinkling around you.
I like the variety. Makes me think, what kind of traveler would I be in Cairo? Relaxed felucca or glitzy dinner cruise? Tough choices.
And speaking of choices, are you getting hungry? Because we haven't even talked about food yet.
All this exploring is making me hungry. I've heard good things about Egyptian food,
Oh, it's delicious.
but beyond hummus and falafel, I'm not sure what to expect.
Okay, well, Cairo's cuisine is a real fusion of flavors, reflects its diverse culture.
I like that.
One thing you gotta try is koshari.
Koshari,
Yeah.
that's the one the source called Symphony of Textures.
Yes, exactly. It's hearty, affordable, and everyone loves it, locals and tourists alike.
Okay, sell me on it. What's in it?
Picture this: rice, lentils, pasta, chickpeas, all mixed together with this spicy tomato sauce.
Wow, that's a lot going on.
And then on top, crispy fried onions.
My mouth is watering already. I love contrasting textures.
Then you'll love koshari.
What else should we try?
For breakfast, you gotta try full medames.
Full medames, okay.
It's simple: stewed fava beans, cumin, garlic, lemon.
Sounds simple, but I bet it's all about how it's prepared.
You got it. Often served with pita bread and fresh veggies.
Like those traditional flavors passed down through generations. That's what I love about exploring a new cuisine.
Exactly. It's like uncovering hidden history through taste.
And you mentioned tamea, the Egyptian falafel.
Ah, yes, you can't forget tamea.
What makes it different from regular falafel?
It's made with fava beans instead of chickpeas.
Okay, interesting.
Gives a whole different flavor and texture.
Gotta try that. You can't talk about Cairo without mentioning the coffee.
Oh, the coffee culture. It's more than just a drink, it's a whole social ritual.
I love that.
Coffee's served strong and sweet.
Oh, my kind of coffee.
And you'll see people in cafes, chatting with friends, playing games, just watching the city go by.
Sounds so relaxing, just observing the rhythm of the city.
It is. It's a great way to connect with everyday life in Cairo, beyond the tourist stuff.
Love that. Okay, before we get too carried away with daydreams of pyramids and coffee,
Right. We need a plan.
let's get practical.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to know before we even pack our bags?
All right, good point. First things first, timing is key.
Okay, when's the best time to go?
For the best weather, aim for the cooler months.
Cooler months.
Yeah, October to April.
Okay, makes sense.
You don't want to be out in that summer sun,
Definitely not.
especially at those ancient sites.
So we got our time frame,
Now we need to pack.
right? Packing.
Yeah.
What are the essentials?
Comfortable shoes are a must.
Oh, for sure. Lots of walking.
Yeah, exploring those pyramids, the markets.
I'm already tired thinking about it.
And don't forget sunscreen.
Right, the desert sun.
Even in the cooler months, it can be intense.
Noted. Comfortable shoes, sunscreen, check.
Check. And the source also mentions packing light clothing.
Which I always do.
Good. But also important to remember modest clothing for religious sites.
Oh, right. Respectful attire.
Exactly. It's a predominantly Muslim city.
Okay, so respectful clothing is key.
It shows respect for the culture and
Respect is key wherever you travel.
couldn't agree more.
Okay, we got our timing, our packing list, and our respectful attitude.
We're getting there.
But I'm already a little overwhelmed by all the amazing stuff we've talked about.
This is a lot.
Any advice on how to, prioritize, create a rough itinerary? Where to even start?
All right, let's say you have 5 days in Cairo.
5 days, sounds good.
Day 1, we got to hit the ground running.
Let's do it.
Giza pyramids and the Sphinx.
Obvious.
Soak it all in the morning, then afternoon, Egyptian museum.
Makes sense. Balance the outdoor with the indoor.
Right. Dig deeper into those artifacts, learn the stories behind them.
Okay, day 1, packed with bucket list experiences.
Bucket list for sure.
I love it. What about day 2? Where do we go next?
Day 2, let's immerse ourselves in Islamic Cairo.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
We'll start with the Citadel of Salah el-Din.
For those panoramic views.
Exactly, and that architectural grandeur of the Mosque of Muhammad Ali.
And then in the afternoon?
Afternoon, we lose ourselves in the el-Khalili Bazaar.
Yes. Time to haggle.
Put those skills to the test. Find some treasures.
Love it. Day 3.
Day 3, we step back in time to Coptic Cairo.
Coptic Cairo. I'm not familiar with that.
This is where we see Egypt's Christian history.
Okay, interesting.
The Hanging Church, the Church of St. Sergius,
Okay.
and even the Ben Ezra Synagogue.
The Ben Ezra Synagogue, so a mix of faiths there.
It shows how Cairo has always been this melting pot of cultures and religions.
Makes sense.
The synagogue itself, one of the oldest in Egypt, very important in Jewish history.
So Coptic Cairo is a must-visit for understanding the full religious history.
Definitely.
Okay, we got our ancient wonders, Islamic heritage, Coptic Christian experience. What's next on our 5-day adventure?
Day 4, let's venture outside the city a bit.
Oh, I like that idea.
This is Saqqara,
The big
home to the Step Pyramid of Djoser.
Another pyramid.
It is, but this one's special. One of the earliest examples of monumental stone architecture in Egypt.
Wow, that's going way back.
Way back. Less crowded than Giza gives you a different perspective on how pyramids evolved.
Love that. Getting out of the city, different pace.
Exactly.
And then in the evening, back to Cairo for that Egyptian feast we were talking about.
Yes. Koshari, full medames, tamea.
All of it.
Got to refuel after a day of exploring.
And you mentioned some sweet treats, too.
Oh, right. Basbousa and konafa. Can't forget those.
If you say so, I'm taking notes.
Good, good. All right, day 5, our final day.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. Let's start with a visit to the Cairo Tower.
The Cairo Tower. Okay.
It's a symbol of modern Cairo.
Modern side of the city.
Yes, and the views from there are breathtaking.
Ooh, I love a good view.
It's like a visual recap of the whole trip.
I like that. A visual recap.
And then in the afternoon, we'll head back to Al-Azhar Park.
The park again.
Yeah, that tranquil oasis.
Perfect ending.
Right. Relax, reflect, maybe jot down some notes before heading home.
A peaceful moment to end an incredible trip.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got our itinerary sorted, but before we book that flight, let's talk practical stuff.
Good idea. Gotta be prepared.
What about safety? Any tips, advice?
Cairo is generally a safe city, but like any big city, be aware of your surroundings.
Makes sense.
Avoid walking alone at night, especially in areas you don't know.
Right. Basic precautions.
Exactly. Keep valuables safe. Common sense stuff.
Common sense, always good advice.
And if you're traveling solo, let someone know your plans, check in regularly.
Good point, just in case.
And always trust your gut. If something feels off, get out of there.
Solid advice for life in general.
It is. And the source mentioned learning some basic Arabic phrases.
Oh yeah, I always try to do that when I travel.
It shows respect.
Even if it's just greetings and thank yous.
Even that makes a difference.
Okay, adding, learn some Arabic to my pre-trip to-do list. What about money? What currency do they use? ATM's easy to find.
Currency is the Egyptian pound.
Egyptian pound, okay.
ATMs are pretty common, especially in big cities.
Good to know.
But it's always a good idea to have some local cash on hand.
Right, for smaller purchases, tips.
Exactly. Or if you're somewhere that doesn't take cards.
Always good to have a mix of payment options.
For sure. And you mentioned haggling.
Oh yeah, gotta love a good haggle.
It's part of the culture, especially in the bazaars.
Any tips for those of us who aren't natural hagglers?
Don't be afraid to negotiate. Start by offering a lower price than what you're actually willing to pay.
Okay, start low.
And be prepared to walk away.
Walk away.
Often they'll call you back with a better offer.
It's a game.
It is, kind of. And a sense of humor helps.
I can see that.
A smile and a bit of banter go a long way.
Make it fun.
Exactly. It's about finding a price that feels fair to both sides.
There's no need to be aggressive about it.
Not at all. Okay, so we covered safety, money, haggling. What about etiquette? Any specific customs we should know about?
Good point. Don't want to accidentally offend anyone.
Right. Egyptians are very welcoming, but there are some things to keep in mind,
I'm listening.
like taking your shoes off before entering someone's home or a mosque.
Okay, will do.
And always use your right hand when greeting people. The left hand is considered unclean in some cultures.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have known that.
Little gestures, but important.
Be mindful and respect that.
Exactly. Oh, and if you're invited to someone's home for a meal, bring a small gift, like sweets or flowers,
I love that.
and always compliment the food, even if it's not your favorite.
Of course.
Hospitality is huge in Egyptian culture.
Makes sense. I appreciate those little cultural tips.
No problem. It's all about being more than just a tourist, being a thoughtful traveler.
Love that. And it brings us back to what we were saying before about Cairo being more than just a historical destination.
Right.
It's got culture, tradition, a whole way of life.
Exactly.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least.
I'm glad.
I feel like I've not only learned about Cairo, but I've started to understand it a bit better.
That's the goal.
And that's the beauty of travel, right?
It is. It's not just about seeing the sights. It's about experiencing a place, connecting with its people.
Expanding our understanding of the world.
Exactly.
We've covered so much today.
We have.
From pyramids to bazaars to food to etiquette.
It's been a journey.
It really has. And while our Cairo deep dive is coming to an end for now,
There's always more to explore.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning of my fascination with this city.
I have a feeling you're right.
And for listeners who are feeling inspired,
To learn more.
we'll be sure to include some resources on the show notes.
Absolutely.
Virtual tours, travel tips, even recipes for some of those dishes.
We'll even link to some organizations that are working to preserve Cairo's cultural heritage.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So listeners can learn about the efforts to protect all those treasures.
Because ultimately, this deep dive isn't just about checking Cairo off a bucket list.
Right. It's about sparking curiosity.
Fostering appreciation, maybe even inspiring some future travelers to experience it themselves.
That's what we hope for.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Cairo.
It's been my pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Until then, keep exploring.
Keep learning and keep those travel dreams alive.
Absolutely. So we've got our time frame, our packing list, that respectful attitude. We're ready.
Almost. But I'm already feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, it is a lot to take in.
All these amazing things.
Right. Where do we even begin?
Any advice on how to prioritize? Maybe create a rough itinerary.
Okay, so let's say you have 5 days in Cairo.
5 days. Sounds good.
Day 1, gotta hit the ground running, right? Giza pyramids, the Sphinx, can't miss those.
Of course not.
Spend the morning soaking it all in, then in the afternoon, head to the Egyptian Museum.
Okay, so balance the outdoor with some indoor time.
Exactly. Delve deeper into the artifacts, the stories behind them.
Love it. Day 1, already packed.
Bucket list stuff.
It is. Okay, day 2, where do we go from there?
Day 2, let's immerse ourselves in Islamic Cairo.
Islam in Cairo.
We'll start with a visit to the Citadel of Salah el-Din,
For those panoramic views.
of course. And to experience the grandeur of that mosque of Muhammad Ali, the architecture is amazing.
A bit.
And then in the afternoon,
Yeah.
we'll lose ourselves in the el-Khalili Bazaar, put those haggling skills to the test.
Yes. Find some unique treasures, hopefully.
Exactly. All right, day 3, we're going to step back in time to Coptic Cairo.
Coptic Cairo. What is that exactly?
This is where we get to see Egypt's Christian history.
Okay.
We'll visit the Hanging Church, the Church of St. Sergius, and even the Ben Ezra Synagogue.
Wait, the Ben Ezra Synagogue is there.
It is. It's part of Coptic Cairo.
So that's a mix of faiths all in one area.
It is, and it speaks to Cairo's history, how it's always been this melting pot, cultures and religions all coming together.
I like that.
The synagogue itself is one of the oldest in Egypt, holds a significant place in Jewish history.
Wow, I had no idea. Sounds like Coptic Cairo is a must-visit then.
Definitely, if you want to understand the full tapestry of Cairo's religious past.
Okay, so we got our ancient wonders, our Islamic heritage, our Coptic Christian experience. What's next on our 5-day itinerary?
Day 4, let's get out of the city for a bit. How does that sound?
Ooh, I love that idea. A change of pace.
We'll head to Saqqara.
Saqqara.
It's home to the Step Pyramid of Djoser, one of the earliest examples of monumental stone architecture in Egypt. I'm talking way back.
Another pyramid, but a different kind.
Exactly, and less crowded than Giza gives you a totally different perspective on the evolution of pyramids.
I love that. Getting a different perspective, seeing another side of ancient Egypt.
Right. And then That evening, we'll head back to Cairo and indulge in that Egyptian feast we were talking about.
Oh, yes, the food. All that koshari, fellow medames,
All
tamaya.
of it. Got to refuel after a day of exploring.
Definitely. And what about those sweet treats you mentioned? Basbousa, kunafa.
Can't forget those. Got to try them if you have a sweet tooth.
I'm definitely a sweet tooth person, so I'm taking notes.
Good, good. All right, day 5, last day in Cairo.
Already. Time flies when you're planning a trip.
It really does. Okay,
Sure.
let's start with a visit to the Cairo Tower.
The Cairo Tower. Haven't heard of that one.
It's a symbol of modern Cairo, and it offers these amazing panoramic views of the whole city, kind of like a visual recap of the whole trip.
I like that. A visual recap. What a way to end the trip.
Right. And then in the afternoon, we'll head back to Al-Azhar Park, that tranquil oasis we talked about.
The park again.
It's the perfect spot to relax, reflect on everything we've seen and done, maybe write down some notes for our travel journals.
I love that. A moment of peace before heading home.
Exactly. Okay, so we got our itinerary sorted, but before we book that flight, let's talk about some practical things.
Good point. Need to be prepared.
What about safety? Any tips or concerns?
Yeah, is it safe to travel there?
Cairo is generally a safe city, but like any big city, you just got to be smart, aware of your surroundings.
Makes sense. Basic street smarts.
Exactly. Don't walk alone at night in unfamiliar areas. Keep your valuables safe. Common sense stuff.
Common sense is key, no matter where you travel.
Absolutely. And if you're traveling solo, it's always a good idea to let someone know your plans, check in regularly, just in case.
Good idea, just in case.
And always trust your instincts. If a situation feels off, get out of there. Don't hesitate.
That's good advice in general, not just for travel.
It is. And the source mentioned learning a few basic Arabic phrases, which I think is always a good idea.
Oh, I agree. I always try to learn a few phrases when I travel.
It shows respect. Even if you just know greetings and basic polite phrases.
A little effort goes a long way, right?
Exactly. Okay, so we talked about safety. What about money? What currency is used in Egypt? Are ATMs easy to find?
Good questions.
I don't
I
know.
always forget to think about the practical stuff.
It happens. So the currency in Egypt is the Egyptian pound.
Egyptian pound, okay, gotta remember that.
ATMs are pretty common, especially in big cities like Cairo, but it's always good to have some local currency on hand, just in case.
Right, for smaller purchases, tips. What if you're somewhere that doesn't take cards?
Exactly. Good to have options.
Speaking of which, you mentioned haggling being a big part of the culture.
Oh, yeah, especially in those bazaars.
Any tips for someone like me who's not a natural haggler? I always feel awkward.
Don't be afraid to negotiate. It's part of the fun, and it's expected in many places. Start by offering a price lower than what you're willing to pay, and if the seller isn't budging, walk away.
Okay, so start low, be prepared to walk away.
Exactly, and often they'll call you back with a better offer.
It's like a game of strategy.
It is, kind of, and a sense of humor helps.
Lighten the mood.
Exactly. It's all about finding a price that feels fair to both sides. No need to get aggressive or take it personally.
Right, keep it friendly.
So we talked about safety, money, even haggling. What about cultural etiquette? Any specific customs we should know about?
Yeah, don't want to accidentally offend anyone.
Egyptians are generally very warm and welcoming people, but there are a few things to keep in mind.
Like what?
Well, it's polite to remove your shoes before entering someone's home or a mosque.
Okay, take my shoes off.
And when you're greeting people, use your right hand. The left hand is considered unclean in some cultures.
Oh, interesting. Wouldn't have known that.
It's the little things, but they matter.
Respect, always important.
Exactly. Oh, and if you're invited to someone's home for a meal, it's customary to bring a small gift, like sweets or flowers.
That's lovely.
And always compliment the food. Even if it's not your favorite, hospitality is a big part of Egyptian culture, so express gratitude.
I love that those little touches go a long way.
They do. And it brings us back to what we were talking about before, Cairo being more than just a historical destination.
Right, it's a whole culture.
It has a unique way of life, traditions.
This deep dive has been so insightful, honestly. I've learned so much.
I'm glad to hear that.
Not only learned about Cairo, but I feel like I've started to understand it, the heart of it, you know.
That's what it's all about, going beyond the surface.
It's the beauty of travel, isn't it?
It is. Experiencing a place, connecting with people, expanding our understanding of the world.
Well said. Wow, we covered a lot today.
We did.
Pyramids, bazaars, food, etiquette, even haggling tips.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And while our Cairo deep dive is coming to an end, for now,
There's always more to learn.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning of my fascination with this city.
I think you're right. Cairo has a way of captivating people.
And for our listeners who are feeling that same spark, wanting to learn more,
To delve deeper.
we'll be sure to include resources in the show notes, virtual tours, travel tips, even recipes for some of those delicious dishes.
We'll also link to organizations that are working to preserve Cairo's cultural heritage, so listeners can learn more about the efforts to protect all those incredible treasures.
That's fantastic. Because this deep dive isn't just about checking Cairo off a bucket list, right?
No, it's about sparking curiosity, fostering appreciation.
And maybe even inspiring some future travelers to experience it for themselves.
That's what we hope for.
So we've journeyed from those pyramids to the heart of that bazaar.
We've tasted koshari, full medames,
Learned some Arabic.
even learned to haggle.
As we wrap up our Cairo deep dive, what stands out to you most about this city? What really captivated you?
That's a tough one. There's so much.
There is.
I think it's how Cairo, it challenges how we think about time.
Okay, tell me more about that.
It's not just that it has a rich past.
Right, most cities have some history.
It's that the past is so interwoven with the present in a way you can really feel.
You know, that's what struck me too.
Yeah.
The fact that you can walk through ancient ruins
Thousands of years old.
and then be in a trendy cafe or gallery later that day.
It's not just about preserving history, it's about living with it.
It's part of everyday life.
Exactly. That's what makes Cairo so much more than just a historical site.
It's a living, breathing city. Those echoes of the past are everywhere, but there's this energy too.
An energy you can't ignore.
I'm starting to get why it's called the mother of the world.
It's more than just a place on a map.
It's like it's nurtured innovation, creativity, cultural exchange for centuries.
And it hasn't stopped. That legacy continues today.
Cairo is always evolving, but it still honors that heritage.
It's a reminder that history isn't static, it's dynamic, it shapes who we are.
I love that perspective.
Huh?
It makes me think travel isn't just about escaping, it's about expanding how we understand the world.
Our place in it all.
Exactly. In Cairo, it challenges you to do that.
To question things, embrace the unknown, connect with a history that goes back thousands of years.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Ooh, I like questions.
If you could only experience one thing we talked about today,
Just one. That's hard.
it is tough.
Okay.
But which one speaks to your soul?
Okay, I'd have to choose standing in front of the pyramids at sunset.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Watching the sky change colors, those ancient giants casting long shadows.
I can picture it.
It's a moment that captures Cairo's grandeur, that connection to something bigger than ourselves.
That's powerful. For me, I think I get lost in that Khan el-Khalili Bazaar.
I love the bazaar.
I love that energy, the sensory overload, the chance to connect with those artisans.
And maybe haggle for a souvenir.
Exactly. Two very different experiences.
One ancient and timeless, the other vibrant and alive.
And that's what makes Cairo so special.
Right,
Yeah.
it is. That blend of past and present, it's harmonious but also exciting.
Well said. Cairo has definitely made an impression on me. It sparked a curiosity to experience it all firsthand.
I hope you get to go someday.
And for our listeners who are feeling that same spark,
To learn more.
check out the show notes for resources
We've got virtual tours, travel tips, even recipes.
and links to those organizations working to preserve Cairo's cultural heritage.
It's important to protect these treasures.
This deep dive wasn't just about checking Cairo off a list. It was about sparking that curiosity, that appreciation,
And hopefully inspiring some future travelers.
to experience it for themselves.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Cairo.
It's been a pleasure talking about it with you.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating deep dive.
Until then, keep exploring.
Keep learning, keep those travel dreams alive.
Absolutely.